Hey everyone, and welcome to the Beyond Life and Fitness podcast. I'm Cheryl Patton.
And I'm Megan Prince.
We started this podcast as a way to connect with more people who are struggling to fit it all in. The workouts, the food, kids, work, and relationships.
We know that we're not perfect, but we hope that through our struggles and our mistakes and our failures and our successes that we can help more people through their challenges and be successful. So if you want some tips and tricks to help you along your journey to be the best version of yourself, then this is it.
So today we thought we would chat about how to survive the holidays. I know the holidays, any time of the year, can be stressful, can cause some anxiety for people because they're just like, I can't stay perfectly on plan or on track because I'm not in full control of the meals that are being hosted at someone else's house. Or if we've got social events with work and we're at restaurants, like, again, I don't have full control over how the food is made and all that good stuff. So we know the holidays can be stressful for a lot of people. And so we thought we would talk about or give you some tips on how to manage the holidays regardless of what holiday it is and what time of the year.
Yeah. I think just knowing that plan before you go in, like those promises that you're making to yourself, right? Like if you have 3 family dinners, of course, like you can't just go gung-ho and eat 3 Thanksgiving turkey dinners with dessert and all that kind of stuff, because of course it's going to throw you off of your plan. Plus it's going to kind of send you into that
possible downward
spiral and snowball effect, right? So I think of making those plans on especially if I go to a restaurant, like what is my plan before I go, making that plan for myself and then deciding to stick to it, right? Or else you're going to like somebody else's house. It's easy to just go off track, right? When there's appetizers and things out and bowls of nuts and chocolates and things, because on holidays it's not like they just put out a meal. It's like people put out all the stuff before, and I'm like, how are we supposed to eat a meal? We just already ate all of our calories for the day. So I think for me it's like making that plan of which dinner is the most important to me in regard to my mental health and my comfort and my connection with family and the food and that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah, because at any holiday you always have special foods that come out, right? You'll have special foods associated with Christmas or with Thanksgiving or Easter, or if it's special milestone birthdays, right? There can be always something special that tends to come out. And like you said, if that's something that's very important to you, that particular food to have, then yeah, and have it, enjoy it. And like you said, if you happen to have 2 or 3 in a row, just dial it back a little bit on the next one. And I think the biggest thing is too, and what I've seen in the past, is that people will save up their calories.
Oh yeah,
meal, right. Like they'll just literally not eat all day, and then all of a sudden they get to the dinner or whatever they're doing, and they're so ravenously hungry because they haven't eaten all day, that if you had just stayed on track for your first 2-3 meals of the day and then you had your dinner, you wouldn't have been quite so hungry. You would have had a lot better decision-making skills when it came to the food that's presented out in front of you. And you probably wouldn't have gone so far overboard with the food.
Yeah. Because your body's starving. It's screaming at you, I'm hungry. And it's anytime, they say, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry, because you're literally buying 1.5 million things that you don't need or don't want or shouldn't be buying. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing. If you don't eat all day, you're starving, you're ravenous. And then, when you first start working with clients, the 3 o'clock is people are always like, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. I just go home and I just binge on a whole bunch of things. But when they finally get into that plan where they're actually eating at right intervals of time and they're eating enough food, the 3 o'clock crash doesn't necessarily get there. And if it does, they have a snack they're allowed to eat at 3 o'clock.
Exactly.
So it's I look forward to that 3 o'clock snack or whatever, because I know I'm allowed to have it. And I've eaten enough the whole entire day that I can feel satisfied. But again, yeah, the extra cardio on the next day and people doing all this stuff, it's just going to put your body under more stress than it needs to be.
Yeah. And it puts you in that whole binge restrict mindset again.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is something that's always been a problem in the past and you are trying to correct that by getting onto a good nutrition plan, being consistent with moving your body, and then when the holidays come up, you just revert back into these old habits, it's like taking 3 steps forward, 1 step back every single time. So if we can stay super consistent or more consistent, regardless of the time of year or what is happening, you can still take those steps forward. It might be a little bit smaller during the holidays, but you're still moving forward in the right direction. And you're not taking these steps backwards because you're like, oh my goodness, I got to do extra cardio. I got to make sure that I don't eat any carbs for like a whole week before, the big Christmas dinner or whatever the case might be. It does not help you physically and it does not help you mentally.
No, I think there's like 2 situations too. On my client call last week, they were asking me, like, what do I do? I found this recipe where I can do like a really low fat pumpkin cheesecake with like just Cool Whip and pumpkin and spices and that kind of stuff. And kind of change my meal towards what it looks like, not have the glass of wine. And this lady hasn't had a glass of wine in 8 weeks since she's been on the program. So I was like, okay, here's the deal. You can do all these healthy things that you want to, if that's going to make you feel better. The other option is to have the glass of wine, to not have a huge piece of pumpkin pie, and then to move on. Because for some people, when we're always like in that mindset of I'm eating differently than people, or this is lower calorie to fit in my macros, you're not satisfying that need of I want to just eat. So I was like, if you're going to feel okay with substituting all of those things, go do it and feel fine. But if you're not going to feel good about it and you just still after need the pie, need the glass of wine. I said in 8 weeks, if you haven't strayed from your program at all, I said, go and have the little tiny piece of pie and the glass of wine.
100%.
It's not, because that's actually going to kickstart your motivation in ways sometimes like kickstart. I don't like calling them cheat meals, but in a way, just give you a little bit more calories so that your body kind of like little like diet break for a meal. It's not even like
just one meal.
It's just like one tiny meal. I said, don't go overboard. Don't go crazy. Just like decide that that's what you're going to do, a little tiny piece of pie, and then just don't go overboard. But enjoy those things, because it's not about, unless you're like super crazy restrictive, like this Thanksgiving, I am super crazy restrictive. Last Thanksgiving, I would have my Nana stuffing because it's my favorite, and I would have like a tiny portion of it. This Thanksgiving, I made my own stuffing that fit in my macros, and I was perfectly happy with doing that. But that's not something that like every single family gathering and every single meal that I would do. It's just I chose in that moment that that's what I wanted to do, right? So then when you have a choice, it also gives you that empowerment and confidence, rather than somebody saying, no, you can't have that meal. You're going to kind of probably go and have it anyways and then not tell them. So what's the point in... So it's kind of like it can go 2 ways. You can choose to just have it and watch your portion, or you can choose to make it fit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, I always tend to lean towards making it fit, because that's just a better lifestyle balance. And like, unless there's a very specific reason, right? Like if there's a season that you're in, i.e., you're getting ready for a show, you're getting ready for a photo shoot. Like there's a very specific reason as to why you cannot stray from your plan. I think it's actually very healthy to have those meals. Again, it's not every day. It's not even necessarily every week. But I think you need to learn to go with the ebbs and flows of the seasons associated with food.
And not being so stressed and so strict on yourself that when you go to restaurant, you feel anxious because you don't know what to eat. When you go off plan, when you go to somebody's house, you're feeling anxious. That's not how it's supposed to be.
No.
It's supposed to be maintainable. It's supposed to be something you can do for your whole life. Whereas you're learning, this is what a portion size of protein looks like. In this meal, I have carbohydrates. In this meal, I have fats. So then you look at what's available in the table and decide like, what things can I pull out of this to make a meal? I mean, if you get there and it's lasagna, you're kind of screwed because you can't really decide what's in those, right? So then it's, again, just going portion control, not eating a ton of it. And if they have salad, having a big salad on the side. So it's kind of about that good relationship with food rather than thinking of the holidays or like this huge diet break where you can just eat whatever for 3 days and then kind of go back on plan. Because it's not that it's a horrible thing. It's just that then you create this
you're just
black and white.
Yeah. And you're having to regain that traction to get back on track.
Yeah.
So, having, like you said, like one meal off is really not a big deal in order to get back on track either the next day, whether it's breakfast or the next meal, if you had a brunch. But yes, if you roll that into 2 days, 3 days, and if you think of like the 2-week break that people get at, kids get at the holidays, like there are parents that will, take a week off or whatever the case, and it snowballs into an entire week. Well, now you have to try and rein that back in. And so, yeah.
Habits take a really long time to
They do.
And also, you and me have really good habits, and still, I can be easily thrown off track.
100%. My mouth had nuts out. It was not a good picture.
Yeah, you and nuts are like the worst, right? You're always like,
I can't even have them in the house.
I know.
It's bad. Like
they're salted too.
Nope.
They're not salted?
Nope.
They're just plain?
Plain raw nuts.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
I know, you and the nuts.
Oh, it's not
it's
good.
like me and the peanut butter. I have to not have the peanut butter.
Yeah.
The nuts I could not.
I
so
know.
everybody has their thing, right?
Absolutely. So I think too, and another thing with restaurants as well is if you happen to know the restaurant that you're going to, sometimes you can look up the menu online, depending on the type of restaurant, and take a look at what's on the menu and kind of pre-plan what you're going to be ordering ahead of time. So when you show up, it's like you already know, like you can just sit down, enjoy, and not worry about looking through the menu and trying to, do these little micro calculations all in your head.
Yeah.
It's so I have a lot of clients try. I'm like, if you can look up the restaurant ahead of time.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Then then you're not thrown into this like big spiral of not knowing what to eat, and then you're kind of like freaking out about it, right?
And again, sometimes it's just, with the lasagna example, it's just choosing the best from what you have available.
Right.
And just knowing it's just one meal. It's not going to affect the bigger picture, and that your next meal, your next day, we're just back on track. Making sure we're hitting our water, we're moving our body again. All will be well with the world.
Yeah, I think it's just make yourself that plan, right? So that you know, what do I want to do? What do I want this weekend to look like? What do I want to feel like after this weekend? Binging for the whole weekend and just eating whatever isn't going to make you feel good, and it doesn't bring about like this good relationship with the food and the holidays. It kind of just goes I focus more on family and getting outside and getting out in nature and spending time with my kids and having downtime rather than this is just about the meal. But I do realize food is a big majority of our holidays, especially like Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving are our major ones, and everything kind of does revolve around that turkey. It revolves around the stuffing. It revolves around all of the smells in your house. So I think, it's just about making that plan, decide what you want to do, and just not letting yourself get completely thrown off course. And if you want to have those meals, then have it, and then just get right back on track. Because a week off, and losing those habits, losing that momentum, losing that trust in yourself.
Especially when you're new at doing it.
Yeah. When you're new at doing it, it's really easy to get thrown off track. And then you're kind of back to square one again, right?
And feeling frustrated that you can't get back on track. So yes. Yeah.
And also know yourself, right? If you're in the beginning of this journey, and having one bite of something is going to send you off into a spiral, don't do it. Because I have clients that are like, if I do, then I'm just going to, go off into crazy land. And then other clients are like, no, I got this. I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to decide what I want to eat and then do it. But it's all just about making that plan. What do you want for yourself? What do you want to feel like? What do you want your weekend to look like, right? Because the worst thing is waking up after a holiday
with a food hangover
and just Yeah, because that's not even good memories from the weekend. It's causing you this
anxiety,
stress, which then means not eating a lot that week, adding more activity if you want to, which then just also doesn't really help the situation at all.
No, but I really like the idea of like, how do you want to feel when you leave that meal?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think because a lot of people will associate, oh my goodness, like I felt so bloated and so heavy and so tired. Or do you want to feel satisfied, still have some energy, and not feel like you have to have a 2-hour nap on the couch? Right? So I think that's
the feeling thing for me, I think, is the biggest one. Like when we've taken our kids out to all you can eat sushi and they've had that, like, I'm so full, I'm going to throw up, mommy. I said, remember this feeling, because that's what it feels like when you don't like listen to your body, give yourself time to process things. And I've had times where I went to meals and I've decided what I was going to eat before and I didn't follow it and I didn't feel happy with myself after. Those times when I set myself a plan, I followed it, and I was really proud of myself. Not because I sacrificed eating the food, but because I stuck to what I said that I was going to do. I stuck to what I told myself I was going to do, you know? So I think it all comes down to this like trust and confidence in yourself, that you can trust yourself when you're put in front of a whole bunch of food. And I mean, sometimes you can't control it, right? And I do have people in my life that you can go to their house and say, look, I'm following this meal plan. And these are kind of the things, like if you're doing mashed potatoes, could you just steam some potatoes for me on the side? Like my mom, like if it's family, people will do that stuff for you. And if you really want to be nitty gritty about it, bring your own, warm it up, put it on a nice plate, have a little bit of cranberry sauce, you know, that kind of stuff. But if you really are really scared, just bring your own. And it's not like a season of your life that's going to be forever. It's just until you get into that trust.
Those habits have just become more second nature.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. And it's just like something that will become easier as you kind of go.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a few tips to help you get through any of the holiday seasons, regardless of the time of year. And hopefully some of them will help you. Thanks everybody for listening today, and we truly appreciate you. And let us know what your biggest takeaway was today, and if you have any questions you want answered on the podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to automatically receive your episodes and to help us reach more listeners. We would love to connect with you on our socials, either Facebook or Instagram, with links in the show notes. Till next time, keep taking those small steps towards your best life.